welcome back to our database series, summer series, week 7. Okay, so let's continue with our summer series. Okay, the last 2 weeks, I'm used to commit to discussing about the design of the database. Okay, and even though we did not start with learning how to design a database, we start with learning how to retrieve the record, read. We spend time learning how to read, but the design is so important. That's why I committed 2 weeks, right? If you take a look at the number of times, the number of weeks that we use to commit to discussing certain topics, that tells you the importance of it. It is a very important, it's fundamental because designing a good database lays a foundation for a good system that you be able to retrieve the data in many years, times to come. Okay. So last 2 weeks we discussed about the design of the database. We talk about how do you design, what does it take in order to know if it is a good design for the system. So you use all this measurement, sort of like a techniques they use called normal form. The first normal form, the second normal form, and the third normal form. We try to achieve and we aim for the third normal form when we design our database schema. Okay, and you not be able to get the third one until you get to the second one. You won't be getting the second normal form until you probably first achieve the first form. So you have to go through all that. It's sort of like a mechanism, a measurement way for you to know that, oh, the design of your database is actually good. Okay, so that's probably sort of like the end of our database related series. This week I will, um, this week I sort of like committed to talking about GitHub. Even though it's not directly related to a database, but it is sort of like a worldwide community tool that people use. All the software engineer people, coder, developer use it. So it's called GitHub. Okay. So let's actually try to understand exactly what is GitHub. This is a Git and GitHub, right? Git is G-I-T, not G-E-E-K, right? It's a GitHub. So what exactly is GitHub, right? And what is it for? The GitHub is kind of like, think of it like a Google Drive for developers, right? Think of it like sort of like the online storage platform, a cloud-based places where people can share their documents, their code with everybody. So, and they allows people to collaborate and work on those things simultaneously. Okay, so it's kind of like the online storage platform like Dropbox, Google Google Drive, or Microsoft or OneDrive. It's kind of like that. Instead of a Word documents, a text file, the majority of those files is actually code based, right? But but of course you can actually put anything in there. You can put the text or Word documents and all that kind of stuff. It's an online storage platform, just like any online platform like Google Drive. And then you know what? Sometimes you just kind of like move your stuff to Google Drive by select the file on your local machine, and then you basically just drag and drop it onto your Google Drive, on your Dropbox. Okay. But instead of moving your file and upload your file, GitHub is basically just a place for a developer worldwide to sort of implement all the uploading, downloading in terms of command line. They can actually use command line, even though there is interface version of it on Windows. You can actually use that. It's achieved the same purpose as well. Okay. This is, let me show you exactly what it's like, okay, before we actually delve a little deeper into GitHub. GitHub is a place, and then Git is basically a client software installed on your local machine in order to interact with GitHub. It's this hub, it's just basically a place, a social meeting place for uh, for online community of software engineer, developer, people working on projects ranging from construction, plumbing, electrician to, let's say, software and productivity tools or any sort of like apps on your phone, okay? And you interact with GitHub in terms of you upload your code, you download, your source file is through a command line. And the reason that GitHub is actually preferred over any other online storage platform is because it actually has a very good sort of like more customized. It has a lot of feature in order to track all the changes to other file, and you be able to revert to any previous version of the file. That's why it's sort of like a version control system. It's kind of like a VC system that people, you know, a community online use worldwide. It's kind of like the VC system that people prefer to use online, or the developer, when they share their code, they allow you to collaborate and work on those features, okay? So that's what it is. And how do you install, before we actually get into this one, how do we install GitHub, right? You install GitHub, let's say that you have on Windows. How do you install GitHub? I actually have a GitHub desktop installed, right? That's actually, and you download the GitHub desktop from here, desktopgithub.com, okay? If you're using a Windows, you can actually install the, the Windows version of it. On Windows operating system, they probably have the desktop version as well as the command line, which means that you have to type it up all the command on the terminals, like the command prompt. You can type it up all the GitHub command line, but you can also you can actually use the desktop, which kind of like provide you a very nice user interface, okay, like this one. Sometimes I like to use the user-friendly interface like this one, okay. Okay, let's say that you probably have a different operating system. You probably have the Linux system, the Linux-based system. It's not a Windows system. How do you install that? And let's try to see. On my laptop, I actually have the VirtualBox, okay? And I basically just run in, sort of like a multiple virtual machine. The virtual machine is act as if it is a real machine, except that you'll be able to run it on your machine. So that's what I use, the Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, so I have let's actually just turn on the VirtualBox. I have two Linux-based virtual machine. Okay. Okay, this is Linux based, and I actually install my VirtualBox, my virtual machine on my laptop. And when you try to interact with GitHub online, you use the client software called Git, G-I-T, not computer geek, not G-E-E-K. Yes, let's wait until I'm actually. Okay. Okay, you actually get to terminal. The short key to get to terminal is Control RT. And this is how you install. This is how you install GitHub, Git on your computer. on the Linux based system. Sudo apt update, right? And then you want to actually install using, you basically use sudo. Sudo basically is just like the command, the sort of like a keyword for super user. Sudo is a command like for a super user, and you say install git. Okay, I already have git installed, so that's why, you know, it says that git is already installed. But if you have not get git installed, you should be able to get the git installed this way. Sudo, you know, first of all, use a sudo update, and then you can upgrade as well, and then run the upgrade. Okay, run the upgrade. Okay, okay, because I probably already run the upgrade, so that's why. You do sudo apt update, sudo apt space upgrade, and sudo space apt space install space git. Okay, and now you probably have, so you can take a look at to see what version of git has been installed on your laptop. They say, oh, version 2.47.2. That's the latest version, right? That's how you actually install gigs. And the reason I'm telling you that developer, software engineer, when people working stuff together online from all over the world, you know, it's kind of like the VC system worldwide that people use, okay? And this is how it works. It's basically, let's say that it allows you to make a lot of changes and be able to keep tracks of all those changes being made to the file. So that's why, you know, all those changes associated with a control, with a version control. So you be able to kind of like revert back to any previous version that's been saved successfully. Okay, and the reason they do that because, let's say in software or any sort of like apps application, when people working online, and it's actually a team of developers, you know, living in different places like in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in United States, all over the places, speaking different languages and working on the same projects, right? And they make a lot of changes and all that. And sometimes, you know, a certain version working good, very stable, working good. And you know what? The latest version, even though it's the latest, but it's not very stable. So that's why people want to revert back to the previous version. So that's why GitHub is preferred, because it's well known for a version control. Okay, and this is exactly what happening on your local machine. It's kind of like, you know, the four phases of Git. They have a working directory, you know, a station area, you know, and the local repository. Okay, and the git push is the command that basically going to push all of those changes being made to the file to the master file. Let's say before you actually working on a certain file, make it easy. Let's say work documents that you share with other people, or a PowerPoint, right? What you share with other people and you invite them to collaborate. And then people be able to, once they get the links, they be able to download that file, a master file of the Google Drive, of the online cloud-based online storage place, right? And then they'll be able to work on that simultaneously, and they'll be able to update and upload all those changes. That's exactly what happened with gigs, right? You have a place, once you get the file downloaded on your laptops, station area is not where you, station areas, you know, in GitHub is kind of like you getting ready to get on stage, but it's not, you're not ready. You probably prepare, you do a lot of rehearsals, and you basically gather, you know, once you rehearse many times, you probably just gather, probably behind the scene, behind the stage, right? And then you confirm that this is the changes, I confirm that I'm gonna make it, okay? And then lastly, finally, when you do the git push, that's exactly how you're going to commit those changes, you know, to a master file that's sitting on the cloud somewhere, okay? That's exactly how you do it. Okay, you see this one right here, gig status, staging area is still taking place on your local machine. Commit is still taking place on your local machine until you do the gig push. Okay, so let's say that this is my gig hubs right here. Okay, this is my gig hubs right here, and I probably have, you know, sort of like a folder that I share online. I put it on my sort of like online storage. Okay, I have quick practice and all this kind of stuff, right? And then let's say that I want to share my code, you know, in this folder, right? And then with other people when they get the links, they be able to sort of like click on this link. Let's say that you want to clone. Okay, I have, this is probably one of the Linux based system. I have another machine, the virtual machine, Ubuntu. So basically I have, this is a simple scenario. I have 3 users, right? It's actually, and this 3 laptop is 2 virtual machine. I'm going to start this one, right? I'm going to run this one. Let me start it up, the second virtual machine, okay? Remember, the VM virtual machine is act as if it is a real machine, okay? So far I have 3 developers, right? This one right here is my GitHub desktop version. And over here, I don't know what happened to this. You know, let's actually shut down this one first. Start it again. I don't know, for some reason it did not start, you know, correctly. You know, while I'm waiting for the other, you know, second machine's virtual machine working, let's try to do this one. Let's say I already have the gig practice. I already downloaded the gig practice folder. Remember, this is online. It's a gig, right? This is all the folder I have online that I'm going to share with people. I'm going to share with this particular folder right here, the top folder, the first one, right? Since I already have it, you know what? I'm just go ahead and remove it. I'm going to remove all the folder, that folder, or the folder in that folder. Okay, so now you see it. My GitHub folder is gone already. It's been removed. Okay, so let's try to sort of like clone. Since I already have my gig installed on this machine, I'm gonna go to like click clones, right? And then you basically just copy these things right here. This is the URL, right? So you clone, you do a gig space clone, you basically clone, right? You see the gig practice right here. Let's actually change to that folder by cd gig practice, right? And this is all the folder that I actually have in there, right? Let's say that you have, oh, this one's already up. Right? You have this one right here. Right? You have this one right here. You have file. Okay. Let's say that you want to make some changes in this file. Okay. You say that you remove. Let's say that we remove. You know what? Not removing it. Just say that 1, 2, A. Make some changes to the file. B, C, D. Right? You say you edited from Kali Linux 727 36, right? Right? And you just save it, right? Now you take a look at the changes you make to the first file. Okay, so you probably have all these changes. But remember that on the GitHub, they don't have all the changes that you just make on your local machine, right? So now I'm going to show you how do you actually go to push those changes, right? Okay, you're gonna once you make changes to the file, you're gonna follow this command, git status. You see this one right here? Let me. You see this one right here is actually the file one is being edited. There's some change being made to this file. That's why it's actually coded red. And then you want to run the next command, say git add. You want to add those files that actually have changed by doing a git space add space period. And then once you're ready, add those changes to the file. You try to actually run the git status again. And to make sure that now you see that the color of the file is now changed to a blue one, which means that they move it into the staging area, okay? It's kind of like you rehearse it already, you move into the staging area behind stage, right? Getting ready to push. And then you want to do git push. And then the last one you want to do git push. Git push is the command that you're going to push those changes to the master file sitting, on the cloud that you share with other people. So far, all these changes you make is actually taking place on your local machine, right? So you want to do git push. They're going to prompt for your username. Oh, username for your GitHub account, okay? And when they prompt for your password, you're not going to use the GitHub account password. You're going to use the PAT, the personal access token, okay? I'm actually have my token somewhere here. This is my token, right? Copy my token, and I paste this here. Oh, sorry, before you do the git push, you have to commit it. Sorry, git status. Okay, now the name of the file is actually blues already. You have to commit it. Okay, git commit. Edit with A B C D. From Kali Linux VM machine. Okay, you commit those changes, on your local machine, probably in the station area, which is behind the scene, behind the stage. Now you're going to run the git push. Basically, you say that, okay, you confirm it, a number of times. You say that I want to commit those changes online. That is my username, right? And this is not your GitHub account password. This is your personal access token. There you go. Okay. Now, this is my online platform. You take a look at it when you click on the file. Refresh this one and take a look at the file. See that? It's actually have all the changes I made. I just made. I say ABCD added from Kali Linux. This time right here, 1036, right? So that's why those are the commands that you use. Same thing. Let's say that you have another user. The third user is basically from the third user. Let's say is this one is a second user, right? Now you say that I want to clone these things right here, right? Clone, when you're actually using a sort of a user-friendly interface like clone, can, qtron, GitHub training, this one right here, git practice. I'm sorry, git practice. It's the same that you say git clone. It's the same thing, right? And you basically are going to choose. Okay. What I just did when I click on that button, it's basically the same thing if you run the git clone command line on the terminals. Okay. Now you take a look at it. You have two files, the file one.txt and a readme. This one right here, you have this one, right? And then you say that, edit, you're going to add EF, right? Make some changes. What? Edit from data version. Right? 727 1043. Okay? And then you just save it. And now you see that it's automatically detect those changes you make on your GitHub desktop, right? And then you want to commit it one file to man. Basically, just running the git commit, okay? You commit it, and then you want to push it. The same thing is equivalent of doing the git push command. Same. Now you push it to the online, right? Now take a look at it to see whether or not the master file is sitting online, in the cloud somewhere, be able to have all these changes being made so far. You want to sort of like refresh it. See that? You'll be able to actually have, all these changes made so far. Okay? Let's say that you have another third, right? This is another VM machine that I have. you get to the terminals. If you want to do a command line, you know, you tap it on the terminal, which is Control RT, you know. Let's say that you want to clone, okay? You want to git install git app install, you install git this way. What is this? Okay, so you have git that. Okay, now you do git clone. Git clone. And then the URL for this one right here. It doesn't take it. No. Yeah, for some reason the page they take it github.com can Q2 and get practice. Okay. Okay, I just have to type it up. Right? That's you have to type it up the whole thing. HTTPS good practice. Right. Good practice. Okay. Ah, good clone. Why is that? Com. It clones. Oh, that's the reason, because I actually have the gig practice already, so I have to remove it. Let's say I remove that. Okay, now make sure that I don't have that folder. Okay, now just do the grid clones, okay? Basically, that's exactly, you just want to copy the whole folder sitting in the cloud, and then you just download it onto your local machine. See that? You have gig practice now, then you actually go into that folder. You should have 2 files, okay? And then you want to see the content of the file 1 by using the command less. That's it. You see that? Now you want to change. Let's say you want to make some changes. Let's say that you want to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You say edit from that user. Ubuntu, right? Linux machine. Save it. Okay, and you want to sort of like take a look at the file to make sure you have all these changes, right? Right? That's it. That's what you do. Okay, So basically, I show you a very simple scenario. We have three different developers, three different user one, user two, using the Linux-based operating system, and they actually execute those git command on the terminals, okay? And I'm show you the Windows version, the desktop version on Windows. Windows, they probably have two versions. You can actually just do the desktop version as well as, the command line as well, It's the same thing with Linux, okay? That's it. This is probably the list of all the commands. Git command, okay, it's sort of like the most commonly used, very common git command you can use, okay? But if you want to get the list of all the commands on gigs, okay, you run this one right here. You say git help dash A. That's going to give you the list of all the commands. And if you want to go into, each command to understand sort of like the full, complete description of the command, what does each command do? This is what you do. You say git help, I believe. You say git help, and then you tap that particular command. If you want to know specific command, let's say you want git help command, right? Let's say a specific command you want to know. Let's say I want to know more about log. They give you a full description of what the log command does. Okay, so it's sort of like that. And that way, when you take a look at the each command, right, you know exactly all the available option. You see this one, all the available option. It's sort of like they call flat an option. So if you want to use those options to make it more customizable command, you can do that. Let's say you want to do git log. You want to use the option one line. You want to know exactly, how does it do, what it's doing. That's exactly what it is, okay? So to list all the git command, use git help -A, and to list the complete full description of what each command does, you do git help, and then whatever the command is. Let's say commit, right? That's it. And then I believe that this one right here does the same thing. Man git command, man is basically just a manual, right? You say that you want to do man git dash log, same thing, right? It's a manual, okay? So that's going to be the end of our presentation about git cups and all this stuff, okay? And I probably present you a very simple scenario. It has three developers, probably living, scatteredly in the world. One in, I don't know, maybe some sort of like hypothetical situation, one in the US, one in Asia, one in, Africa, okay? And that's how you collaborate and learn all this stuff. And I have to say that, when people collaborate, it's kind of like they provide you an online platform to share stuff with you at free of charge. That's what they call an open source free, and I relied on this open source free stuff. Otherwise, I probably would not have learned all this stuff, because of all this stuff that people make it, free, and they open source, they share that with everybody. That's how I learned all of this stuff, especially during COVID-19, stay at home, with the family and all this, and I might as well learn new skill. That's how I learn stuff, I remember when I was in, during the COVID-19, that's how I learned guitar, online. That's how I learned how to skate, and because of all this, the people that actually committed to distribute and give it out to the worldwide community for free. That's probably a driving force behind a lot of great educational websites such as W3 School. And I learned great stuff from W3 School too, when it comes to like website development, database, and all this. I hope that you actually, enjoy, the database summer series so far. And this week is all about Gig and GitHub, okay? Sort of like online communities tools that people use. A VCS, no, it's not CVS. It's a control version control system, VCS. Okay. I hope everybody have a good week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week, week 8. Okay.